My doorbell camera recorded someone standing there all night. About 8 months ago, I installed a doorbell camera on the front of my house. At the time, it felt like a normal thing to do. A lot of people in my neighborhood had them already, and there had been a few reports of package thefts nearby. Nothing violent, just the usual porch pirates grabbing deliveries when people weren't home. My house sits on a quiet street in a suburban neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. It's the kind of place where people leave their garage doors open while mowing the lawn and kids ride bikes in the middle of the street. So crime wasn't really something I worried about. The doorbell camera was mostly just a precaution. For the first couple of months, the only alerts I ever got were delivery drivers, neighbors walking their dogs, or the occasional raccoon wandering across the porch late at night. Then one night in late October, something strange happened. It started around 2:13 in the morning. I know the exact time because that's what the first notification said. My phone buzzed on the nightstand next to my bed. At first I ignored it. Motion alerts at night weren't that unusual. Sometimes headlights from passing cars would trigger the camera, or wind would move a branch in front of the sensor. Then my phone buzzed again. And again. 3 notifications in less than 30 seconds. Still half asleep, I grabbed my phone and opened the app. The live camera feed appeared on my screen. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Porch light illuminated the front steps and part of the driveway. The street beyond that was dark except for a distant streetlight. Then I noticed something. Someone was standing on my porch. Right in front of the door. I sat up in bed immediately. The figure was standing just a few feet away from the camera, close enough that the lens captured most of his upper body. It was a man. Tall. Thin. Wearing a dark jacket and what looked like a hoodie pulled over his head. His face was partially visible in the porch light, but the shadows made it hard to see clearly. What struck me first was how still he was. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't looking around. He was just standing there, facing the door. For a few seconds, I thought maybe he had rung the doorbell and I missed it. The app would have shown that. Besides, the man wasn't looking at the doorbell. He was looking straight ahead. At the door. At me. Or at least where he probably thought I was inside. My first instinct was that maybe it was a neighbor who needed help. Something about the situation felt wrong. If someone needed help at 2 in the morning, they'd be knocking. They'd be ringing the bell. They wouldn't just stand there silently. I kept watching the live feed. The man didn't move. Not even a little. After about 30 seconds, I decided to check the front window. My bedroom was upstairs, but from the hallway window I could see the front porch at a slight angle. I stepped quietly into the hallway and peeked through the blinds. Porch light illuminated the area just like it did on the camera. And sure enough, the man was still standing there. Completely motionless. My heart started beating faster. There's something deeply unsettling about seeing a stranger outside your house in the middle of the night. Especially when they aren't doing anything. Just standing there. Watching. I went back into the bedroom and grabbed my phone again. The man was still on the camera feed. Still not moving. I considered opening the microphone through the app and asking what he wanted. Something stopped me. A feeling I couldn't quite explain. Instead, I just kept watching. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The man didn't move once. Eventually I convinced myself he must be drunk or confused. Maybe he had the wrong house. Maybe he was waiting for someone. After about 15 minutes, I decided to call the police non-emergency line. I explained that there was a man standing on my porch who hadn't moved in a long time. The dispatcher asked if he had tried to enter the house. I told her no. He was just standing there. She said they'd send a patrol car to check the area. While I was still on the phone, I kept watching the camera. The man hadn't moved at all. Not even an inch. About 8 minutes later, headlights appeared on the street. Police cruiser turned the corner and slowly approached my house. I felt relieved. Finally, someone else would deal with this situation. Then something strange happened. As the cruiser got closer, the man stepped off the porch. It was the first time he had moved the entire time. He stepped down the front steps and walked calmly across the lawn. Then he disappeared into the darkness between my house and the neighbors. Police car stopped in front of my driveway a few seconds later. By the time the officer got out of the car, the man was gone. I spoke with the officer through the door and showed him the footage. He walked around the property with a flashlight but didn't find anyone. Eventually he told me it was probably just someone wandering through the neighborhood. Still, he said before leaving, "Keep your doors locked tonight." I didn't sleep much after that. The strangest part didn't happen until the next morning. When I woke up, I checked the camera app again. There were dozens of motion alerts from the night before. Most of them were triggered between 2:13 and 3:04 a.m. I opened the recorded clips. Every single one showed the same thing. Man standing on my porch. Completely still. Something felt off when I watched them again. In the first clip, he was standing a few feet away from the door. In the second clip, he looked slightly closer. By the third clip, he was almost directly in front of the camera. It was subtle. The kind of movement you wouldn't notice unless you were watching closely. But over the course of nearly an hour, he had slowly moved closer to the door. One small step at a time. I kept scrolling through the recordings. Then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. At exactly 2:57 a.m., the man leaned toward the camera. Just slightly. Like he was trying to look through it. His face filled more of the frame. Porch light illuminated his features a little more clearly. That's when I realized something disturbing. He wasn't looking at the door. He was looking directly into the camera lens. Like he knew I was watching. I kept watching the clips. Then I reached the final recording. 3:04 a.m. The video started normally. The man was still standing there. This time, he did something different. He raised his hand slowly. Pointed directly at the camera. Then he stepped closer. So close that the camera captured almost nothing but his face. And that's when he smiled. Not a normal smile. A slow, unsettling grin. Like someone who knew something I didn't. The video ended. I remember sitting there in the kitchen, staring at my phone. Trying to convince myself that I was overthinking everything. Then I noticed something else. The timestamp on the final clip said 3:04 a.m. The police cruiser had arrived around 2:35. Which meant the man had come back after the officer left. And stood on my porch again. For another half hour. That night, I installed a second camera facing the driveway. I also kept the porch light on permanently. For a few weeks, nothing unusual happened. No alerts. No strangers. Eventually, I started to relax again. Then one night, about a month later, my phone buzzed again. Motion detected, front door. I felt my stomach drop. Slowly, I opened the app. Porch camera feed appeared on my screen. Porch was empty. Something else caught my attention. Driveway camera had also recorded motion. I switched to that feed. At first, I didn't see anything. Then I noticed a shape near the edge of the frame. Someone was standing at the end of my driveway. In the darkness. Watching the house. And even though the camera was far away, I could still see the faint outline of a familiar hooded figure. Standing perfectly still. Just like before. Smiling face with horns.